I think it's the way that you describe it that really resonates with people, Luke.
Yeah.
So here it says for audio listeners, it says continued 90% losses faster and faster forever. And then the
Yeah.
old world is already technologically ancient. And then it's this idea of this exponential growth. And then, would you say this apply? You're talking, this also applies to technology, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I feel it, right? This is like, you know, I think 20 years from now, or 20 years, I'm a little bit older than you, Luke, but like, 20 years ago, when, I was a little kid and I was watching VHS tapes, I would have never have imagined, having this software where people could just communicate through
Yeah.
video hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from each other instantaneously. And then at the same time, live stream that to all the corners of the earth,
Yeah.
via the internet, right? So is that what you mean, or is this only referring to a specific thing?
No, no, that's definitely referring to all technology. One of my favorite metaphors, or comparisons, is probably better than metaphor. One of my favorite comparisons is the internet, just because, like most people, even my age, can't deny just how painful yet obvious it is. One of the things I talked about in Preston's show and a couple other shows is like take the internet. We are still in the early days of the internet, and again, because we think in linear terms, we don't think about that because we're just looking at our own life and we look backwards and we think, look at how much my life has already changed because of the internet. We forget to think about the future and realize it's only going to change that the internet is going to cause in our lives. It's only going to get more dramatic. Today, roughly 60 to 65% of the world has internet access. So there's almost half of the world population doesn't use the internet. And oh, by the way, we're going to add another couple billion people to the global population over the next few decades. So it's like, theoretically, the total number of users of the internet will easily double just in the next, decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. Pick a number of years. People smarter than me could map that out for you. But it's like, people think that, oh, it won't be a big deal until it's already everywhere. And I would disagree with that. I think, again, using the internet as a comparison, by the time the internet got to 10% global adoption or 15% global adoption, it's like it already changed the world. It had taken hold of like a whole younger generation with social media and everything like that. And now we're at the roughly 2/3 mark or just under the 2/3 mark. So anyway, I think Bitcoin is going to be a similar way. I think that most people are going to ignore it because they think that, oh, that's whatever, maybe that's way out there. But the problem is that the internet took roughly 30 years. Bitcoin's roughly 14 years in. And because its compound annual growth rate of adoption is so much faster than the internet's at its same age and at its same number of users, that the curve is going to be much steeper than the internet. And so, even frankly, by the time I think Bitcoin's at 10% global adoption, it's like the world will look so different than it does today. It will be almost recognizable. I don't think one has to wait 30 years or 20 years to see massive declines in the current system and massive explosions of growth in the incoming system. And so kind of like how earlier I was talking about how it depends what paradigm you're in, whether the world's getting darker or getting brighter, kind of like that orange line and the red line in the chart.